Would you accept if I told you what my nickname was, like Jet does in this episode? Like they called me, and then I was like the Space Lizard, and you have to just live with it. Like, would you let that happen?
Yes.
No, you
Wait,
would not.
what was it? What was it? What's
The
your
Space Lizard. You know what I mean? Well,
Holy
that one.
fuck.
Yeah. Well, if I'm so good at
now
it,
I am. I mean, I'm sorry, Space Lizard, but that shit is awesome.
Yeah, you're right. I did pick it perfectly right out of the gate.
You
so
picked the perfect.
yeah, I satirized myself.
The
Boom.
Space Lizard. Well,
Boom,
you heard
I
it here
bit
first.
left.
This is C Space Podboys starring Abe Epperson and Space Lizard.
That's my tongue, my lizard tongue. Hope you like it.
I love
It's kind
it.
of a Maggie sound.
This
I
is
like
a
Maggie would do
new-
that.
This is a new phase. You just
The old Space
you
Lizard
shifted
phase.
our friendship into a new gear I didn't even
Right.
know was possible, dude.
Dude,
The arrival of Space Lizard.
there's infinite possibilities in an Abe Gans friendship. Like, you know, it never stops, my guy.
The gears don't stop coming.
The doors keep opening. What's behind them? Mostly not prizes.
Mostly bits.
That's
and
right.
you're here
I'm
to
here.
share the bits.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely here to
I was talking to the
share
audience,
bits.
dude.
Well, but I'm here too. Space Lizard's also here. Did you forget?
Space Lizard too.
All right, I better get us on track here. What fucking planet is this? All right. I've fallen off my habit of saying 3, 2, 1, let's jam, and I apologize
You can
because
say it right now if
that's
you want.
I did. I guess I don't. It won't be much help. Anyway, this episode is Ganymede Elegy. Abe and I were saying before we started this podcast today, we were watching it. We're like, damn, this one. And I think the reason we're saying that is we're getting to the age where this episode makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was young and watched it, I definitely still thought it was good. I never thought this was a bad episode,
Mhm.
but I didn't care about it the way that I instantly cared about it this time.
Yeah, it
Or it's
wasn't
like,
like,
wow.
Ballad of Fallen Angels where it's like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah,
Look at all
exactly.
these cool shots.
Yeah,
Because it's so subdued and just,
gentle.
it's philosophical and
Yes.
conversations. So it's not sexy.
Yeah,
The content, I would argue, for the older person is sexy.
no, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. By the way,
That's what
I
I
found
crave.
out because I rewatched these episodes with Nicole,
Mhm.
which I guess I'm saying is the name of my girlfriend. So people now know
Yes.
that.
Yes,
I've been trying to catch her up so that she can watch this with me before we do the episodes. And Jet said in episode 6, I want to say, I'm 36. And I was like, damn, you do not look
No.
36, buddy.
No, you're 50.
Try 45. Yeah, like, try
Yeah.
50. But he's supposed to be 36, which then makes me think, how old do you think Spike is supposed to be?
Right.
30?
I think he's supposed to be like 27 or something.
That
Like,
seems a
he's-
little young for him, for what he's gone through.
I think he was. This is just, we do this all the time because
Yeah.
we say like
Right.
the protagonist is 16. So he was probably in the syndicate ages 18 to 22,
or
23
more. Yeah.
or more, and he took a year off, healed up, and has been with Jet for only like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, they definitely have an old, like they've known each other a while now.
While, but
Yeah.
like,
Okay, because I mean, we know Faye is like 20, right? Like 20, 21, and that doesn't seem so far-fetched to me.
I mean, yes.
Yes, Abe doesn't want to say this, but the show brings it up all the time because they sexualize her all the time. She has a young feeling
Well,
to her,
I was
right?
actually going to say that she's hundreds of years old.
Right. But like the show's trying to point out that
Or
she's a
maybe not
young woman,
hundreds.
right? Isn't
Yeah,
that?
she's decades old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But,
perhaps Abe will cut that because we sound like perverts, or maybe we'll leave it and admit that we're old perverts. I don't know. Although I gotta say, the sexualization of Faye troubles me more now than it ever has.
I don't think she's supposed to be like young. I think it's just anime sexy.
Okay.
Like I'm not too worried about that.
Okay.
Like I don't think she's infantilized or anything like that. It's just anime be horny.
Yeah.
And if you were an anime enjoyer, let's say, you are either fine with it or you're into it. There's 2 options, because otherwise anime is going to be rough.
It's really
for you, buddy.
troubling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes it is troubling, but I guess we can
Oh yeah,
we
I've
can
watched
get into
some
that.
shows that I'm like, I can't talk about this in public
Yeah, this is no good.
because if I've seen this,
this is the
people will
4chan
think things.
Yeah.
Because I have to be aware of how I look and how
Right. You got to
who
wear
I
a
am.
tuxedo out in public, as one does.
Mhm,
Anyway,
mhm.
we never shoot the shit on this show because we're trying to keep it nice and on the rails. So let's get on the
Yeah.
rails.
Yep.
And talk a little bit about Ganymede Elegy. Okay, so the episode starts off answering, I think, a question we all had as first-time watchers of Cowboy Bebop. Okay, so what's it going to be like with Edward on the show now? Right?
Oh.
And it starts with this guy they've captured. They finally got a bounty that's, that they can actually secure. Do you know the name of this bounty, Abe? Because I do.
No.
It is Baker Pancherero.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. It's,
What a
fact I
great
thought
name.
you'd enjoy. Yeah, Baker Pancherero.
Pancherero.
Yeah, Baker. Kind of a contemporary name. Anyway, Baker mistreats Ein, so we know he sucks. And then from the roof, presumably the ducts, whatever Edward was doing up there, Edward sort of falls on the man head first and then bites him.
Headbutts.
Yeah, headbutts him and then bites him.
Hisses, then bites him.
What do you suppose the hiss means, Abe? Do you have any
Hiss
insight into
is,
that?
Don't fuck with my furry buddy.
Right. That's right.
I'm fucking Ed.
We do get the feeling like, okay, so Ein and Edward are going to have a close relationship. Also, Ein disapproves of what Edward does, which I appreciated.
Yeah, Ein is a judgmental little
just like,
catty
no, man,
bitch. Yeah, I
don't
love
do
that.
it. Yeah. Anyway,
No, Ed is my goal. Ed is my love language.
Yeah, Ed's great.
The way Ed is and operates,
Yeah.
I model myself after daily.
Right.
I hiss. I bite.
You
I
are a
headbutt
biter.
from the ceiling.
Been trying to talk to you about it for years. Yeah, it's a very silly intro that doesn't feel like anything else in this episode, and I think that's a good thing because we get a really hard turn into Jet's story after that, right? It's a great contrast. Here's Edward. This is what it's going to be like. Get ready for bits when Edward's on screen, and that's generally true going forward. Then we cut into Jet is barely capable of landing this ship on the planet Ganymede, or it's a moon, right? The moon Ganymede.
It's a
correct.
moon.
I know what planets are. Jet is so absorbed with this old timepiece that he's not able to get, do basic landing the ship stuff, and Spike and Faye are getting impatient. And somebody radios in from the watchtower, and it turns out to be an old police colleague of Jet's, and they reminisce. And we
Donnelly.
finally, thank you for remembering the name, Donnelly. And we realize Jet used to be a cop. And Faye realizes Jet used to be a cop, and she has a great line. That explains it. What's that? Spike says. Why he and I can't get along for 2 minutes at a time. Right? Because he's a cop.
Like a
and
cop.
he feels like a cop. And it really helps you appreciate who Jet really is. Like, everything about this episode is so rich in outlining who this guy is. And that's the first thing. He reminisces with Donnelly. Donnelly already knows what Jet's going to do when he comes back, right? He sort of gives him some information about Elisa, a person who we're going to meet, who clearly Jet's going to check in on, right?
Yeah.
So Jet gets the thing parked, and then he doesn't even see the bounty get turned in. He's off to go visit Elisa, right? And Spike and Faye are having a conversation, having turned the bounty in, and Faye's like, he's delusional if he thinks this woman's still interested in him, right? Or, if he's still holding on, that's even sadder. And Spike turns to Faye and says, you're delusional if you think every woman's like you. And it's like, damn.
I'm gonna pick apart those two lines.
Yeah,
real nice.
But those are helpful lines in the
they're
series.
super helpful character stuff, and the only things that are like not Jet centered, really.
Yes, and then Edward pulls the first of millions of just drive-bys. She does a drive-by bit. And you're like, okay, great. And that's what Edward's going to do. Drive-bys the rest of the series.
Drive-bys
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. I love it.
Deflate all energy.
Right.
Energy carnivore.
So meanwhile, Jet checks in at an old bar that we learn is owned by Elisa, right? That's the name. I'm not getting it wrong. Elisa, yeah.
Yeah.
And he runs into this person with the terrible, unfortunate name of Rent. Rent.
Yeah, what a piece of
What
rent.
a name. Yeah, like Rent. Change it, bro. Go to space probate.
Yeah. And Rint sucks, we learned.
He sucks, but he doesn't suck in like a he's an asshole way. He's kind of weaselly.
He's kind of a coward.
Yeah, he's kind of a coward. He's kind of weaselly. He's clearly up to no good when Jet lays eyes on him. Jet kind of groks him immediately, like what he is when he sits in the bar. He lies to Jet and says Elisa's not here anymore with a very transparent arm in his coat, like gonna pull out a gun. And then Elisa jumps out right from behind the bar, and Rint kind of takes off. Right, Rint's like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna get out of here," and we get this reminiscing between Jet and Elisa. And one thing I kind of appreciate about Jet that you don't see any of the rest of these characters do is Jet goes right after "This is why I'm here." Right? Like Jet's like they connect a little bit, but he basically goes right after okay, so why did you leave me? You know? They have like very minimal pleasantries. She's like pours him a drink. It's, hey, the business is going under. You'll be my last customer. We're going to leave for a new place.
Watch on the table, basically.
Right. And he basically drops the watch on the table and says, okay, so, I left and I'm checking in. And why did you leave? Right. You gave me this watch and a paper that said farewell, and then you took off. Why? Right. And the interesting thing about her is she doesn't really answer. Right? She does seem happy to see him, though. We agree on that, right? Like, she does seem
she's
like
pleasant.
Yeah, she enjoys him a little bit, at least.
She even ribs him, and she's like, we have kids, me and Rint.
Right.
And like, so they have a playful kind of dialogue.
Right. So one thing I need to mention, because it's relevant, that before he tells her, hey, I'm a bounty hunter, which we can tell that's not good news to her. And drops the watch. He sort of is worried about all the like logistics of her life, right? Like, oh, so are you? You must be in debt with the bankers. How are you going to get out of here and move, right? Like, is the mortgage a problem? And she kind of immediately says something along the lines of, "It's so Jet for you to worry about that."
Yep.
Right. Like that's such a Jet move.
Trying to control my life.
Yeah, that's what we learn later. She means by it, but also there's a kind of fondness to it as she tells it to him this time. So. Back on the Bebop, very little is happening, right? Faye is sunbathing. Edward is going, why are you sunbathing? Faye's like, I don't know. It's pointless. Leave me alone. And Spike
she's like, it's beauty ideals, which are pointless. Because time will take that away from me.
Right. But I'm going to do it anyway.
I think an emphasis on time in this episode.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I love is that Edward is fishing.
Yes.
And they have this cool little sci-fi fish.
Yeah, what is that fish?
Grab with its pincers and cut off the line to get free from, in other words, the fish that got away.
Yeah. No, but
just like Elisa.
That makes sense. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the crew is doing. Like, what are these interstitial scenes? So Spike, by the way, is tinkering with the swordfish, like sort of, patching it up or whatever. He gets a phone call from Donnelly, who tells him, hey, here's the bounty. It's on Rint. Spoilers, right? And he tells Spike this is Elisa's boyfriend, and Spike is like, he asks a little bit more, even though you can tell it's sort of a tentative like situation. He's like, how much is the bounty? Then we cut to the eye catch. When we come back, that's when we get the fishing thing you were talking about, right? Spike takes off in the swordfish to go after the bounty, and we're like, Jet. This is when Jet gets into why did you leave me with Elisa, and she makes the remark, you Jet are acting like time has stopped, and it hasn't. It's kept going, right? She says that she's forgotten about it, right? Which is a sort of a gently cruel thing to say, actually.
Yeah. No, it's very cruel.
Yeah, and Jet weathers it, I think, fairly well and takes off. And outside, Rint is trying to light a cigarette, struggling, and they have this weird moment where Jet is looking at him, and there's a real intensity, and it could read as jealousy, but I think it reads more clearly as he sees Rint for who he is. Like, he knows who this guy is.
You better take care of her.
Right, there's a thread in it, and it's a thread of like, you're fucking up. It's just not good enough. But he walks away, right? So then Rint ends up, getting tipped off, and he and and Elisa are terrified that the people who are after him because of his bounty are going to catch him any minute. So they take off in a hovercraft. Like, we got to get out of here right this second. So who should overtake them but Spike? And in this great visual sequence, Spike and the swordfish, like a bird of prey, is just haunting them as they keep trying to evade him. And it feels very desperate immediately. Right?
Yeah, he's got him immediately.
Yeah, they're dead. They're
He's
already
on him,
done.
They're shooting at him, and he's like, whatever.
That's right. So Spike, they get into a tunnel. So Spike is flying up a building to catch him on the other side, and he almost hits Jet, and who's been, presumably slowly taking off on his.
He's just been flying
skip
around.
craft. Yeah, sadly, but we don't get that scene, so we're
Crying.
reading it in. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
maybe. Jet's very sensitive, is a thing we kind of learned in this episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Jet sort of asks Spike, "What do you got?" And Spike, interestingly, pretending like he doesn't know what it means, sends him the information. Right? And Jet, who we've learned, by the way, is the black dog because he never lets go, is like, "I'm going to take care of this." And Spike kind of doesn't really give him any guff. He asks him maybe a little bit of clarification, like, "Don't let him go." Like, "Are you going to let him go?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No. Like, I'm going to take care of this myself." And Spike's like, "All right, you got it," and takes off.
You got it.
Which I love. I love that, right? Like,
There's a respect
Yes.
there. He's like, it's clear, because we learned very early that this is his old haunt.
mhm.
This is where he either grew up or just was stationed here, but he obviously has a past here. But like, he even says, "This is where
This is my old
old beat."
Right.
So I know, like, they're not going to get away.
Right.
I know everywhere to hide.
Spike probably wasn't really worried about whether he would get away. You get the sense Spike's more like, "Are you going to go too easy on him?"
Yeah.
And
I want this 1.8 million
like,
oolongs.
don't let sentiment keep us from getting our payday. Right. And
which is funny and hypocritical of Spike in a way.
I think, but also he kind of asks him. Like, I think if Jet had said, "I'm gonna let him go," I think Spike still would have taken off. Like,
Yeah, I think
those two. One of my favorite
They were
things.
sizing each other up
and
a
he's
little
just
bit.
feeling
Are
it
you
out.
going to get in my way? Are you
Right.
going to get in your own way?
Right.
It's that kind of interaction.
And I love that Spike also learned all this stuff about Jet in this episode. Says absolutely nothing about it.
Mhm.
Like, that's the only thing he says about. He knows what this is about. Right.
Mhm.
And I love it. It's perfect. It's a perfect summary of their relationship. Anyhow, so then Jet, like the black dog, he gets on the scent, right? And he's hunting him down, and he gets his harpoon in the ship, and it's like, you're busted, buddy. That's it, right? And we have this moment where Elisa turns in the hovercraft with the gun, and we're like, "Oh, she's gonna shoot at the hovercraft," and Jet rips the fans off the back of the hovercraft.
Super cool shot.
It's awesome.
Too.
And like, the hovercraft sort of stranded now at the on the jetty or whatever, and Jet hops out of the ship and walks slowly toward them, and they're sort of, desperate on the ground, and she starts shooting at him, and he keeps walking, right? Just darkness around his face, a grim sadness actually in his face, right? Like, this sense in which, like, this is hurting him, but he's doing it anyway.
Like Time's arrow.
That's right.
He's relentless.
He's got to do it. Yeah, the relentlessness of him, because I think in some sense it's the first time we've seen that he is the black dog. That's a real thing. And the show's desperate to, like, yeah, that's right. He is this guy, right?
Like, he's where the buck stops.
Right. And she basically tells him at that point, "This is why I had to go. You took care of everything. You took care of everything for me. I didn't have to worry about anything. I wasn't even able to make my own choices. I had to make my own choices, even if they were mistakes." Right? That's what I wanted. And Jet, you can tell that he understands that is what he did. Right?
Mhm.
And he looks at the weaselly dude and he's like, "You got to take care of her." Right?
Yeah.
And
he's pissing himself.
Yeah, the
Like,
weaselly
he's like,
dude's no match for
"Oh."
Jet. Like, it's, And Jet makes an interesting choice, which is that even though Rent tries to run, Jet subdues him, and he turns him in. But very clearly, between scenes, he's told them, "Hey, go easy on this guy. It was self-defense." So Rent is going to get out free. He's going to get out.
Yep.
Presumably not very long.
Self-defense beat.
Right.
Yeah, it's like he's
not going to
probably
do a
not
lot
going
of
to be
time.
inside at all.
Yeah.
In fact, he's going to get off, and therefore he and Eliza will have a life together.
Right. That's the thing, is that she, even though she's begging him not to do it, as soon as he's done it, you can see that there's peace. She has peace now.
She can live her life
Right.
the way that she wants, and he's out of the picture. He didn't disrupt it.
Right. And
in fact, he
go ahead.
Because another bounty hunter would have fucked their life up. He gifted that she purchased that, just by knowing Jet, because Jet's a good guy and he
Jet
understands.
is a good guy, is I think what we learn. Like, if
also,
we didn't know that, I think it really cements it into place who he is.
It's helpful that it kind of was self-defense. It's not like made up.
Yeah. He doesn't lie.
We learn that he is haunted. One of the reasons Rin is acting the way he is that he's terrified because he took a man's life last night and he didn't mean to, and it got out of hand, and like he's in like child mode.
It was on,
even though he's probably normally a fine dude.
It was on Elisa's mortgage too. Like, he was kind of trying to protect her, but he did it really ineffectively. And Jet kind of swoops in and actually solves all the problems, as Jet is wont to do. And so you can see this is sort of their farewell. And as he's walking away, he reaches in his pocket and realizes he still has the watch, and he hurls it into the river. And the show ends.
Yep. Like Dirty Harry.
That's right.
Throwing his badge.
Very much. Very much so.
Yep.
With that, I think it's time to talk craft and deconstruction, because, Abe, it's time to push this guy.
Yes. Okay.
What you got?
There's a lot to unpack with this one.
Yep.
I want to try to keep it short, but
Great.
Jesus Christ, the execution in this
It's amazing.
episode, unreal. It's my favorite thing in the universe when the maneuvers and the editing and the direction are screaming one thing at you, and that one thing is the right thing to say, which is, in this episode, it's all about time and it's all about disruption. And I look no further than in the Barlafan, the drinking bird contraption.
Man, that's exactly what I want to talk about too.
Let's talk about it, baby.
That was the thing I zeroed in on this time too.
Yep. I noticed that it was.
Yeah. What are we saying?
Not
with
in
that?
your description because you were saving it. Yeah. So we'll tag team this one, Space Lizard.
You do it, buddy.
So yeah, the idea here is steady tension building. If you haven't recently watched the episode, there's this bird thing that we've all seen, which uses evaporation and thermodynamics to dip its beak into the water and then go back up.
Right. It's a silly contraption that movies love.
And why is that interesting? Oh, well, you see, it's interesting to me because obviously it's a reminder of a time loop.
Yeah.
Because it's a repetition, but it's also a steady operation and a reminder of time because it's kind of how you count time. It's much like a timepiece.
Yep. It's got a ticking quality to it.
But it's stuck in time because it's doing the same operation over and over and over, ceaselessly doing the same action. And this endlessness is off-putting, and it's emphasized with the editing of its place during the conversations, and it's got a loud sound effect, and it's kind of adds this eerie weight to the conversation between Jet and Rent and Jet and then Elisa. And there's several edits in this scene that also snap
really
to
tight
the
ones.
wide quickly, which gives this awkward and distracted pacing that puts like you kind of on edge. You're like, what is this? Which is actually an execution that Watanabe actually, it's a reference to the 1966 film Fighting Elegy.
Okay.
By Suzuki.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Which is that he would cut to these abrupt like wides. In any case, all of this in this sequence is giving this distracted pacing. And it's like having multiple conversations layering on top of each other or something. Like, it's very distracting, which is exactly what's happening in the scene. They're both trying to remove each other's obvious lives from each other, or at least in the case of Rent and Jet. And then later it's, with Elisa, it's like, it's more about let's unpack what we went through. And they both kind of have something to hide.
Yep.
So they're still playing the same games. And I'll say that the pacing really sells this because it's both meditative and slow, because we cut to this drip, drip, but the ins and the outs of the scenes, because they hold and like kind of let you take this meditative pace in, the inside of the scenes are spastic, and it's like the proverbial duck legs kicking, right? There's just so much going on, and it gives you this feeling that there's something off about them, and the mismatch of the two is really what sells it. And you combine that, for example, with the Faye and Edward scenes. So these jet scenes are kind of sandwiched by these lazy no plot scenes that remind you that it's supposed to be kind of a vacation. But these scenes are slow inside, but they're always disrupted by something loud or spastic, like Jet or like Spike flying out on the swordfish. So, and also things slip away. Like the fish is the great example. So it's like there's so much effort being put into the ins and outs of these scenes, and then the internal pacing as well, to kind of reflect each other, not to kind of have some form of symmetry. Rent lighting the cigarette.
Yep, that's another rhythmic thing. Yeah,
he can't get the flint to spark, so it's the visuals of his spastic memory of the killing that just occurred over this obnoxious and kind of constant sound. It also makes you think Rent is low on fuel and out of time. And the last shot, as you mentioned, the throwing of the timepiece into the river, which is recalling of the drinking bird. Splash.
That's right.
Good done. I love that so much. And it's also like, if you look at the river or water as like, that's the time stream, he's returning his thoughts and memories back. And so fucking good. Just so much editorial pacing and stuff just to make you think about the themes.
It's not a surprise that we both latched on to this. This is the first time that's happened in this show, where we both wanted to talk about the same thing, because we don't compare notes usually.
Yeah.
I think the reason why is the editorial choices are very loud compared to most of the other editorial choices that the series has done. They're loud and they're disruptive, and I don't mean that makes them bad, but it definitely asks the filmmaker in you, why? Why did we do that, right? So your sense of time that's exactly right. That's a great thing. I have a slightly different observation about it doesn't need a ton of unpacking. Jet and Spike are the two characters that examine their painful past most often in this show, right? Like, everyone does it, but Jet and Spike, we spend the most time with them doing that and get the most allusions to it. And they have very different reactions to their painful past. Spike is unwilling to show emotion. So when something happens, we usually get a cut to Spike, and it shows he doesn't show any emotion to it. And you're like, how does he really feel about it? Right? And in fact, we need those inner montages to actually know how he feels about it. Jet is the exact opposite. We always know how Jet feels. We know it from every single thing that he does. And this episode painstakingly shows that. And I'm going to argue, in addition to what you said, the editing also shows us how painful this is for Jet.
Yeah.
Why? The stabbing. Every cut feels like a stab.
Every's a stab.
Yes, the sound effect. And we never cut to the bird thing when it whips up. Like, we don't have that sound effect. We don't get the sense that it's whipping up. It's
plop.
The blap, right? Every time it feels like like something has hurt him, right? And we get that sense reinforced when he's walking toward her at the end and all the shots are missing, because he knows they're gonna miss. But we also know, like, if they didn't, he would keep walking, right? Like, I feel like that's sort of what's implied there, is that it's not that he's immune to bullets and knows they're gonna miss per se. It's that even if she hit him, he would do what he was gonna do. You know, like, he would take the bullet. He would lose another arm if he needed to. He'd get another metal plate on his cheek, whatever, because that's who Jet is. Jet absorbs the pain.
He'd live with it.
Right? That's who he is. He's a guy who absorbs the pain at his own personal cost. Right? And that's a good thing about him, and it's a sad thing about him. He's clearly very hurt in life.
It also limits his reality.
Yes, it does.
Elisa's like, this is why I'm not with you. You are this way. I don't want that. I want to be my own person. I don't want you to control me.
And yet what's fascinating is he gets the clearest articulation of any of the characters about what he did wrong. You know, like Jet gets a straight answer. Because he's a cop, you know, like he gets the thing he needs, but like that's the kind of answer he needs. Like it's not enough for him to sort of see the person face to face and intuit it, though he could do that, right? Like he very clearly knows who Rent is, and he doesn't need it explained to him,
right?
But he needs to hear it, right? Like that's what he needs. I need to hear it. I need you to say it, and he gets it said, and that's how he moves on, even though he probably knew. Right? Like I don't think he showed up there not knowing. I think he did know. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say is that the rhythm of it also suggests Jed is hurting. This story hurts him. And like, for instance, when we cut to the music, by the way, of when he's chasing them, suddenly we're not in an action sequence anymore. We're in this soft guitar music that is
ELM,
deeply sad. It's deeply sad.
It's like deeply sad.
He doesn't want to do this.
Guitarist.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, it's really longing and it's a sad piece of music. It's all about the mechanical click, like, and I love that the timepiece doesn't work. It's locked into a time, but at the same time, like everything around it is making those clicks sounds, whether it be Flint's lighter, the click of the gun.
Time is moving forward, whether he wants it to or not.
Even if you're nostalgia, even if it's extremely painful, as you pointed out, it's a place they can no longer return, or at least they feel that way. And yeah, it's
great,
really great.
It's really great
maneuvering. Shall we?
I think it's time, Abe, for our final sequence. The name of which flew right out of my head.
You're gonna carry that way.
Damn it! Also, that's my favorite song, maybe in the series.
The
that
ELM one.
But
the
one
you're gonna
we
carry
for the
way.
segment.
Blue. Yeah. Blue is
really good.
The end of the series.
It's the very last one. But I don't want to say more because it's not
time yet. You know what it's time for? It's time for me to speak about a sequence that I think speaks to other members of Bebop, because I know we've been talking about Jet.
Yes, that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, but I want to talk about themes because I feel like the operation of, like, we talked about Jet a lot.
As we should. It's his episode.
Faye and Spike.
Yeah.
Faye says Jet's kidding himself if he thinks this woman from his past is still holding a torch for him.
Yep.
As you mentioned, Spike's response, you're kidding yourself if you think all women are like you. Like everyone on Bebop, Faye is victim of a whole lot of traumatic nurture. Her history will reveal a justification for, like, implicit distrust of mostly everything, especially men. And that sets this up real nice. B, we know Spike used to be a rabid animal, palling around with vicious, murdering countless good people and innocent people with impunity, and vicious claims that he saw in Spike a desire for carnage, right? And he turns his back on that at some point in his past, and his current incarnation is seemingly reformed, and that all started, as we infer, by Julia.
Yes.
Who showed him some form of grace and kindness in his past life, which changed his worldview. It changed him. Yeah. Yes. So we'll talk about his guilt about that later and why he is the way he is. But here, just in this quick back and forth, he feels justified, and he's probably right in saying, hey, don't do that. A woman cured me of an illness.
Right.
So you can't badmouth women like that, which is so wonderful, because Faye is telling on herself by revealing that. Like, she's like, women don't do that. Like, why would he do that? You don't know anything about them. So it just shows in 2 lines of dialogue about a third guy, tells all you need to know about their positioning and how they orbit each other and how they relate to each other and their past. It's fucking fantastic.
It's great. It's so good. I don't know what the joke is that Edward gives there, but I know that that joke dilutes the pain of what Spike said enough that it doesn't stick in your mind, and I think that's on purpose.
That's on purpose.
So that it doesn't carry too much weight, because it
let's
could
not
otherwise.
Let's not get too into the weeds here. It's like, it's Bebop basically saying, like, more on that later.
That's right. But, you know, they're constantly dropping hints about what it's really about in these quiet moments. Okay, Abe, what I want to talk about is what I'm going to title The Absence of Jet. The absence of Jet. What does it mean when Jet's not around? Okay.
Nothing's happening.
Yeah.
People are left to their own devices, and that's aimless.
That's right.
More so than Bebop already is.
Yes, that's what we learn here, that Spike starts doing his own repairs, and he's bad at it, right? He can't repair stuff, really. He's not as good at it. Yeah. That Edward, trying to find diversion, fishes but catches nothing. That Faye engages in a nihilistic effort to...
self-proclaimed nihilistic effort. Yeah.
To, you know, be beautiful, tan, and enjoy herself, and can't. Which
is another tell on yourself moment where she's like, the fact that she's nihilistic about it. I mean, whether or not you believe that that's true about time and aging and beauty, she clearly values her own beauty to the point that she's like, this has no purpose, almost like to say my worth is kind of sourced from beauty, which you know, that's a whole complex conversation, but it does reveal something about Faye, about how her worldview operates, which is there are things that are worth things and there's things that are not. Right. And I do things that are worth anything to me. Like, that's right. That's all that matters.
Perhaps the most striking thing about it is they don't talk to each other.
Yes.
They have no relationship when he's not there, right?
None of them do at this point.
Right.
Other than to rib each other and tell each other, like, you're wrong about stuff. My worldview is correct. That's right. Because we're still in Act 1 of Bebop and Tyrer. So there's no... The interactions have no stakes yet.
That's not always going to be true, as you're pointing out. But their default mode is they're not a team without Jet.
They're not a team.
Jet makes them a team. So another observation is, so what is Elisa like without Jet? And the answer is...
great.
She can't really run her life. She can make choices that are mistakes and get involved with the wrong people, but she can't get herself on the right track without him. Right? Now, I'm not saying that will always be true of her. She seems pretty young, right? She seems much younger than him. I think that's fair to say, right? Like maybe the same age as Rint. You know?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
And also, maybe it's better for her to be free and make her own mistakes than to be controlled by this guy. I'm not arguing for that. I'm just saying the absence of Jet means all these people's lives don't really work. You know? And the show spends no time on this, but it shows it to you. Right? And it lets you figure it out if you can. It's why Jet is always working on a bonsai tree. Right? Like, Jet is trying to find his own peace. He doesn't have peace either. But also, he's the kind of person that needs to care for and nurture people. He needs to. It's why he wasn't a great cop. You know? Because, like, being a cop wasn't exactly the right fit for him. Even though he's talented at it, clearly. He's clearly good at it, you know? But, like, he is a nurturer. He doesn't want to admit he's a nurturer because it's not a tough guy thing.
But no, he absolutely is.
He's a nurturer, right? He wants to believe things like men, maybe women can betray, but men live by iron codes. And Faye points out, do you really believe that? I'm trying to real hard.
Fucking misogynist.
I'm trying to real hard.
I'm trying real hard.
Jet is never gonna be Spike. Jet's never gonna be a character that sticks in your heart the way Spike does. Jet's never the star of the show. That's not who he is. But Jet is necessary for all of it to happen. And the show, this episode and the other one that's his plot episode, really show you how strong he is. You know, like, he's really strong. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, you know?
Makes sense that the title track is called Tank.
Yeah.
No, he's the fortitude. He's a support character. I also, an observation I had watching this time around kind of related to what you were saying about his interaction with Elisa is you reflect on how she has lived his life. It's not just about the absence of
Right.
Jet. It's also about what he leaves you
Right.
with after he leaves, because he's this formidable figure who is almost inspiring.
Could
and
be
obviously
inspiring and suffocating.
the very thing that Elisa was like, you are suffocating me, I need you out of my life. But then what does she go and do? She finds this kid, and
She's
is
the caretaker,
playing the Jet
right.
role. Because she's like, it's going to be all okay,
Right.
baby. I'm going to take care of this. We're going to leave now. She's assured. She's confident. It's almost like we don't know whether or not she had that before Jet or not. She could have, definitely. But that nurturing spirit, whatever is Jet, is alive in her. So either he's attracted to it or he inspired her to have that. And I think that that's kind of true about Jet, is that he's either drawn to these people or he causes them to open themselves up a little bit more.
And also, it's very clear at no point did she hate him. Like, even though he suffocated her, it wasn't because he was doing something to hurt her. It's because by who he is, they couldn't really coexist.
You're right.
But she loves him
I need to
still.
be a free spirit.
Well, and she still loves him in the way that I think real love is, which is, I remember you fondly and I enjoy your company. I just know it won't work. And there's something great about that,
Also reflect on the fact that if, you take the statement, the soundbite wisdom of if you love them, set them free,
right,
kind of
which
thing.
he does.
That's absolutely what this is. Now put that in context of Jet and his. We're gonna talk about it more, but I just want everyone to be thinking about this episode in particular. What he does with what he does with Spike.
Yes,
that's because
correct.
he has to let go of Spike as well.
He does, because he loves Spike very clearly.
Because both Elisa and Spike, wild horses, can't be tamed.
It's easy for me to defend Jet because on the personality types, like so many things about him ping for me. Like, I guarantee you, if you asked Abe off mic how much do Adam and Jet overlap, I bet you that answer is like between 80 and 90%, right? Like, it's very high.
It's a high percentage.
It's high, no doubt. Like this, I've never seen a character that reminded me of me so much. It was like, man, this guy, that is exactly how I am. Like, I'm exactly that kind of person.
You're all about justice and duty.
Yeah, very much so, right? And very much a pain absorber. And I noticed that about him this time. Was like, that guy carries a lot of pain around, and he's still
shows it
getting
in his
hurt.
arm.
Yeah, and he's getting hurt a lot for people. But
yeah, it's almost always an emotional toll too,
right?
Because he'll just take it in stride because he's so self-assured.
Yes,
which you are as well. Like, there's this
to a fault.
There's this feeling of like, oh, you're coming at me. That's cute. Like, it's
I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Right. Exactly.
There's a confidence behind it, but there's also a kind of like almost I dare you to, like there's a coaxing of kind of, that's one of the reasons that I think Rint between those two looks.
Yeah.
Like, first, when Jet first walks in and he looks at Rint and he's like,
I know what you're about.
What's up with this guy?
Yeah. And
then later when he's leaving, and Rint's smoking the cigarette, he's like, "You better take care of her." And you can infer
Does he say that?
but also
he doesn't actually say it, right? It's just the look, right?
No, it's just the look. But we all know, because that's how good the show is.
That's right. There's a lot of great looks in this episode. Anyway, continue.
He's gonna operate not only the way he wants to, but Rint's. Other people are going to size up that sense of him in return. Rint almost immediately knows, oh, this guy's got cop energy. That's why I got to go.
Yep.
Because he doesn't like that energy here because he's scared.
He's scared.
And so Jet is the kind of person that he's so self-assured that people who are not assured, who have either a low version of themselves or are terrified in general, he puts them off.
Right.
Because he is so confident, and he's also like, he's the black dog. I'm gonna get you if you step out of line.
It's inevitable, right? Like there's inevitability because of the way I am. Right?
But it's his worldview that makes him almost the most terrifying. That justice and duty, because it's like, I'm like the Reaper. I'm coming, like, this is gonna happen, like time, relentlessly. This is gonna happen.
Right, and Spike is a much easier character to like because of his flexibility. Mm-hmm. Like Spike is a person who can actually blend in. Jet can't blend in anywhere. He just can't. It's not even, not only is he unable to do it? He has no desire to do it. Like, it really haunted me this time thinking about, like, who goes to their ex-girlfriend and asks for closure?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I can think of, I don't know, 5 or 6 situations in my life where that's exactly what I would do. Like, not girlfriends, but like people who I had past like history with. And I'm like, what would I do if I ran into him? I'd do exactly what he did. Like, I completely understand it, which is insane because, like, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? It doesn't work at all. But, like, that's the kind of guy he is. He's like a straight at you kind of figure. Yeah. And I think
it's the Dirty Harry.
But it costs him a lot, right? Like, if you're going to be that kind of person, it costs you. People are going to shoot at you if you do that, right?
Mm-hmm. So we're up to 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And we found out that Adam and Jet are rock types. Spike is a water type.
Yeah.
Faye is a fire type.
Yeah.
And Edward and I are goblin types. Because that's...
No, you're Faye. You're Faye mixed with Edward.
I'm fire?
A little bit.
It's so sexy.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, well, that's, for sure. Right?
I am sexy.
Yeah.
Faye's got to catch up, You
need to start wearing those jackets she doesn't wear. You know what I mean? She just tucks her sleeves in and like basically
non-jackets.
Yeah. You need to start wearing those. You know?
You got it, Space Lizard.
Yeah. Good time.